The digital patient is, in a word, the future of medicine. The idea is to create a new environment, a new set of technology and methods that will make possible for every doctor to have all the information about the patient in front of him or her at his fingertips, and being able to query the computer and to verify what could be the effect of different treatment options. First, it will make sure that whoever is looking after our health, it will have all the information about ourselves. Too many times, we are not treated properly because a small but fundamental piece of information is not provided to the doctor who is looking after us. Secondly, it will make possible to move finally toward a much more individualized medicine. The way we do medicine today rely on the fundamental assumption that the patient in front of me is identical to all the others that we use to form a certain statistics. Now, this is not true. The more we understand about physiology and pathology and the diseases, we realize that individual variation, the way we are, each individual is made, what we call technically the phenotype, but also how we live our life and how we interact with the environment around us. So the epigenetics are playing a fundamental role in how we're going to develop or not develop a certain disease, how we're going to respond or not respond to a certain treatment. So the way forward is to be able to account for this individual feature. But this is just too complicated today with the current approaches, because the doctor would have to take into account too many information and would have to combine all of them. It's just beyond any human ability. We need to provide technologies that support this process and make it feasible and achievable. The digital patient is a grand challenge and is dramatically interdisciplinary. So there is no one in the world that knows everything that is needed to be known in order to define which type of research is necessary. In this type of initiative, strategic structuring action like DISCIPULUS are essential, because we need to bring around the table experts with very different backgrounds, and through the discussion and a consensus process arrive to a shared vision of what are the milestones that need to be pursued in order to achieve the final objective. It's always difficult to put a price tag to a research initiative. The vertophysiological human, which is the father of the digital patient, costed roughly 200 million euro only at the European level. To this, you probably should have a similar figure of funding received by the various national funding agencies. And then there is the international dimension of the VPH. Remember that the vertophysiological human is not European only. So we're probably going roughly around 1 billion euro, which is being invested in this sector in the last 10 years, worldwide. I think the digital patient challenge is of comparable complexity. And so I think that we need to pursue for sustained funding in this order of magnitude worldwide. And specifically with reference to the European Commission, the European Commission and the European Parliament are working in these days on the design of Horizon 2020. The budgetary constraints are very difficult. The economical moment is not the best possible. So we do understand that this is not the right moment, if you want, to look for huge investment. But healthcare, it's going to bankrupt every single European state in 20 years if we don't change model. Everybody knows this. We have two ways here. We can cut service and push us back where we were at the beginning of the 20th century, when healthcare was a luxury that only very few people had, or we can embrace the future. And technology remains the best answer. This has been proven over and over. So we think that investing in ambitious technologies like the digital patient in the medium term will pay back massively. The first obvious one is the dramatic increase of computational power. I'm currently buying a pretty big computer for the research institute that I lead here in Sheffield. And we're talking about a computer that is capable of 100 teraflops. That means 100 billion operations per second. When I was a kid, the biggest computer in the world was doing some 100 operations per second. In my lifetime, there's been an incredible revolution, and in the last few years there's been really a dramatic acceleration in the real world capability. We can do things that are amazing. That's the first quantum leap. But there are other things. For example, our understanding of biological systems, our understanding of life in the last 20, 30 years has been not only increasing, but has been changing nature. Our understanding is now much more quantitative, is much more mechanistic, in the sense that not only we observe life, but we also start to understand why certain things happen at a certain moment in a certain place. This knowledge in the last 10 years has been progressively more and more captured, and we have to thank first of all the Virtual Physiological Human Initiative for this, into mathematical model based on solid physics or chemistry theories which accurately predict biological processes in a number of physiological or pathological conditions. Now, these computer models can now be put at the service in the context of the digital patient to provide a truly individualized medicine. I think that we have to start from the problems of our society and tackle them. Recently, the worldwide analysis on the disease burden 2010 has been published. Not surprisingly, the 20 diseases that have the largest burden worldwide have been all central to the investigation of the virtual physiological community in the last 10 years. That's the way to go. So we need to focus on those diseases that have the most dramatic socioeconomic impact. Those diseases where the clinical expert feel that the current standard of care is not sufficient, is not adequate. Those diseases where the projection on the aging population confirm that this current standard of care will not be sustainable in 10, 20 years. We need to start from that and tackle frontally this disease with infinite ambition. This will bring, in some cases, to do very close to the application research, very translational research. But in some other cases, will drive us to deal with very fundamental questions about the technology, or even about the fundamental biological or biomechanical or biophysical knowledge that we need to have before we can solve that problem. That's the way to do. We need to start from the problems and go wherever the problem takes us.